Well, it's been a while, but we've managed to make our way to the end of side A from Appetite for Destruction, and we've landed on one of the most beautiful and exceptionally difficult pieces of music of all time. This is Paradise City, signature track from Guns N' Roses. They very often end their gigs with this one. There was a recent performance with Dave Grohl came out and sort of jammed away with them. There's so much technically to have a look at here. So we're going to start off with the intro. First things first, before we dive in, it's E-flat tuning, so we're tuned down a semitone. So just bear that in mind as we dive into Paradise City. So the first thing you need to know is that you're on a clean tone. You're on the bridge pickup of your guitar, and you've got to have a chorus pedal turned on. Now I've put some settings of the chorus pedal that I use, which you can check out here. I would highly recommend this chorus pedal just because it has a lot of variety and a lot of sounds available, but it really captures pieces of music like this, Paradise City, and also Sweet Child of Mine, which we're going to get onto as we continue our Appetite for Destruction lesson series. I would highly recommend getting hold of this pedal if you're interested in a chorus. Without it, it can still sound pretty good, but we're going to dive in here with the chorus. So notes-wise, you're playing with a G chord, a C chord, and an F chord. So those chords just on their own. That's the G, then you've got the C with that extra G in the top. Then you've got the F with the G in the top, so it's like a sustain. And then there's a little turnaround. So that's the first point. The second point, which is something I find particularly interesting, is that on the album version of this piece of music, it's actually slightly different to how it has always been played live. You'll see a lot of lessons telling you to stick in an extra note in the pattern here. So that extra B note there with the extra up pick is basically how Slash plays it live all the time. However, on the album version, if you listen carefully, which I've done many times, you can't hear that note being played because it isn't played. Now, I think that gives this intro actually a bit more of a rhythmic, cooler feel. Without that extra note, it actually has a little bit of sort of pause and give and take. So without the note, whereas with the note, of course, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel as cool to me. But anyway, we're going to stick with the album version because that's what we've done with all these lessons here. But in brackets, I've put the extra up pick for you, and that does continue each time round. Sometimes there's an extra B note with an up pick in the live situations, like the little note says. So let's dive in then. The picking pattern as well is absolutely key with this introduction. Without the picking pattern, without following it, you're going to really struggle to play it. I can only really manage to get my head around this one because of the way the picking is done. So the first G is the only one where you really spread it out slowly like that with an arpeggiation. So you drag your pick across the notes, just like that. And then it's down, up, up. And then you're going to skip out the bracketed note and you're going to do a down. And then it's down, up, up. So one more time for that first bar. And then this is the bit where it gets interesting. So two open notes. And then you're going to hammer on the C shape. So again. Another thing to mention, by the way, is that this first fret, first finger on the B string here is the note that you're always returning to after these shapes. A lot of people play open Gs and other stuff. If you listen really slowly on the album, it always goes. It always keeps coming back there, so make sure that you do the same thing as well. Then the F chord. So this is kind of one of the more difficult patterns here. So you're doing a hammer on those F notes. So the third and second fingers, and then you're going to hear. And then same as the previous hammer on situation. Then lift everything off. 2 open strings and then back to the G. Now the way this G is played is not quite as arpeggiated as the first time. And also you don't actually play the top note in bar 4, you just hear. And then you're going to hear the pattern again. So the way this bar 4 works. So the way bar 4 works is you play that chord but just play the lower strings. And then you hear this. Up. And then this is the turnaround here, so. Just like that. And you return to simply that D note here. But as you're playing that D note, you're recreating your opening G chord pattern like that. And then you're ready, in position to carry on in bar 5 after that open note. So that's how you tackle the intro section. We're going to run it through one time now, a little bit slower than it's played live, just to make sure you can follow along. I'll do the picking pattern as is written down and just try and keep up with the tab here. So what happens then, just as I was about to play the turnaround there, is it carries on another few times, but the "Take Me Down to the Paradise City" singing comes in. So this carries on underneath. Scrolling along to bar 15, and then that's where it changes. You get these 3 chords. If you listen carefully on the album, that's what happens before you hit the mega power chord. So that's just an F, a C, and then you've got a G, but you're not playing the second finger or the second string. Just gives it a nice plain and open sound. And that's the end of the intro from Guns N' Roses' Paradise City. It gets a lot more epic and heavy as we progress, but it's well worth taking our time with that one because there's a few fiddly bits, a few notes to make sure that you go back for, and a little variation between the live and the album version to play with as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll carry on with the power chords and then the sort of epic, obviously with some distortion on in the next part of this series. But thanks for watching, do subscribe, and we'll see you in part 2.